Let's be honest, parenting can be messy and hard, but also so rewarding. In this podcast, we'll share all the ups and downs of parenthood, as well as share some of our favorite tips and tricks for parenting using both our experiences and expertise from our professional lives as a speech and language pathologist and teacher, but also our everyday lives as moms, just trying to balance it all. We're so glad you could join us.
Hello and welcome to And Then We Had Kids. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Sheena.
And just before we started recording, we were talking about, like how the week has been. And Sheena, you've had quite an eventful past week. Your husband finally got COVID.
Finally got COVID. He thought he was team #Novid. He likes to
just bypass all of it. Not gonna get it ever.
Thought he was one of those super immune individuals that was never gonna get COVID. 3 years into the pandemic, and he finally got it.
Oh man. Which then has led you to that dreadful countdown of who might get it next.
Right. Oh. And then on top of it, our youngest just turned 2 and we had his 2-year-old checkup, and turns out he has a double ear infection, which we had no clue.
Not COVID. You have something else.
Not COVID, but a double ear infection that we would have never known about had we not just had that, 2-year-old checkup.
That's crazy, by the way, because ear infections are usually what kids cannot stand.
Right. No, I had
based
no
off of
clue.
Their kind of demeanor, their temperament. I'm just being really upset and uncomfortable, especially at night. Wow.
Nothing.
Go him. He has a crazy high pain tolerance.
I don't know. And they both, the younger one goes to daycare, the older one's in school. They both constantly have that daycare school ick, as I call it.
Yes.
The constant runny nose. And so I just didn't really think too much of it.
Makes sense.
And then the older one has a cold. I'm assuming it's not COVID. We have tested them multiple times now.
Mm-hmm.
Colds going around, RSVs going around.
Yeah,
flu
I feel
is going around.
Everybody is in the thick of my kid's not 100%, but if they're not, clearly fever, all that, it could be something serious.
Yeah.
That cold you're talking about, that's what my daughter also has. And today was the first day this whole year that she's missed of school. I think her teacher said that a few weeks ago that she was the only one who hasn't missed any days. And now she missed one, which was fine and inevitable. Well, but it was also one of those I was telling you, so her school starts 8:45, right? And I, emailed them right away. She had a rough night's sleep, just coughing, just couldn't. She was so tired. Then by 9:30, I had the thought, totally should have sent her.
Her mood was fine.
She was fine, energy, good. Again, no fever, nothing like that. Nothing off of her. You would have known, other than every once in a while she would cough, and obviously that doesn't sound great.
Right.
But yeah, it's just this time of year.
It's just this time of year. And, by the time this, episode comes out, it will be the week of Thanksgiving.
Yes, so it's also that time of year.
Right. So, people are getting ready to spend all of this time with family. My sister-in-law is coming into town from Germany. And so I'm trying not to get anyone else sick.
Yes. Yes. That was also a reason why I kept her home. I was I don't want to get other people sick.
Right.
And I don't want her to get so sick because, again, we're doing a little traveling. But
well, this is the time of year where you get to see sometimes family that you may not always get to see. So yeah, you just want everyone to kind of be their healthiest, be their best. And we're on the struggle bus in the Watterson household.
Beep, beep. Yeah, we are. But yeah, I mean, I know for you, it's been a lot with dealing out every kind of sickness in your house. And while mine hasn't been as bad, definitely grateful that it's not more serious. I mean, it's just been so wild. But yeah, I think that's what we really wanted to touch on, is this idea of gratitude. Speaking
Yeah.
of this time of year, what does that look like? What does it mean? Really like
Thanksgiving's coming up. People are,
yes.
really focusing on what they're thankful for.
Yeah, which is great. And I think it's nice that there is obviously this time of year that people are focused on it, and we're going to focus on it here for a little bit. But the idea of gratitude is one that really should be all year round, as cheesy and cliche as that sounds.
Absolutely. I
But there
think
is, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jenny and I had done some work around this back when we taught at the therapeutic day school. We had a little like focus group that did a book study on gratitude and just the science behind it, and wanted to really come up with some recommendations of how we could embed it into our curriculum and our daily practice. I think we were each assigned a different book, if I remember correctly.
You're probably right, and I'm totally blanking on the book that I may or may not have read. This is
Well,
terrible with me.
I do remember we all had different books on gratitude and like the
What
science behind it.
what book did I what book did you read?
I don't remember which one I was assigned either, but I do remember like the gratitude effect, the thank you project.
Was one
Brene
the
Brown,
Happiness Project?
probably one was the Happiness Project. Brene
That
Brown
was mine.
done
That was
some.
mine. Okay.
I
Oh
think
my
Goldie
gosh.
Hawn maybe has done some like research around it. She is just like such a positive, happy, laid back person that
Yeah.
I should have done this research ahead of time if I had been more prepared. But I'm
Well,
pretty
at
sure now
least
that
you
I'm saying this
remembered
that
you did
Goldie
this.
Hawn,
And we can list it on, we'll put it on our site of like
yeah,
helpful books for adults. I totally blanked on it, and it makes sense because we did. I agree with you. We really took like this initiative to add gratitude into our curriculum at the elementary school because there is so much powerful positive science behind it, that it's not just like, oh, this nice idea of like, I'm grateful that I'm healthy, I'm grateful to have a house, I'm grateful for my friends and family. All of it is true, but being able to practice it, there's some true brain science
there's some true
behind.
science to it.
Yeah.
So there's a psychologist by the name of Robert Emmons, sorry, who's a psychologist. Actually, when I was doing some of my research and prep for this episode, he is sometimes referred to as the world's leading scientific expert on gratitude.
I mean, big shoes to fill for himself.
It is, but he and a colleague by the name of Dr. Michael McCullough did a whole research study on gratitude. So this is all research based. There's some science behind it, where they did a study and the participants were assigned to different groups and asked to do different things as it relates to journaling, right? So there's a lot of science behind the art and the effects of journaling also.
Mm-hmm.
So one group was really asked to write different things that they were grateful for that had happened throughout the week. The second group was only supposed to be journaling about like daily irritations or things that bothered them. So more like of that negative lens.
Right.
And then the third group was really just asked to write about anything that had affected them or impacted them without an emphasis on whether that journaling was positive or negative. And so after like 10 weeks or so, those that were asked to write about gratitude and things they were grateful for ended up just being more optimistic and having like a better outlook on their life. They had fewer visits to doctors. They were less focused on things that were like sources of aggravation. So there was this science in terms of not only was there a positive impact on like their social emotional well-being, right, and that emotional state, but like on their physical health too.
Yeah.
It can't feel good to just be so upset and focused on the negative all the time, right?
Well, and I think that then, yes, 100%. And as humans, we're so naturally biased towards the negative. I mean, when you think about if you have ever given like a presentation and it's an hour long, you literally harper on that, maybe the one piece that you missed or you messed up on, or if someone didn't respond positively or you didn't know how to respond to a question, like you just focus on the negative. I think like same thing throughout the day with our kids. I mean, I know for me, I'm home with them all the time, that if someone asks, like my husband will come home and he's like, how's the day? And I'll be like, oh my gosh, she was so dramatic today, or he was really hard and real like couldn't stop like getting into my space and he got into all this stuff and then I had to clean this up. Like I can easily nitpick and focus on that
Oh,
so much
absolutely.
faster than being like, she helped clean something up or he was dancing to this song for 5 minutes. So there is also this crazy bias towards the negative.
Well, I think it's just so easy to like fall into that venting
Yes.
aspect, right? Like that vent
Yes.
mode.
You think it's like helpful, right? Like, and it is to a point.
It is to a point, but
Yeah.
it's, this is where I guess my behavior lens comes into play of like, we can only admire the problem for so long, right? At what point are we going to do something about it and problem solve it so it's not this big barrier, this big issue? But that takes a lot of mind shift to
Yes.
reframe our thinking.
I feel like that was like a huge takeaway from me of like even just that language of like admiring the problem.
Yeah.
Like if we talked about, I mean, we had some really challenging kids and challenging families to work with that we could talk. We would like have team meetings after school, right? So we, as like myself as a special educator, like support staff versus like you as the teacher and the teaching assistants, like we would all meet with their therapist and we would talk about like a student, like what was hard. And sometimes it felt like we were just talking about the same stuff over and over versus, like you said, shifting our mindsets and making a change. So I think that just happens as parents too, right? Like we
Right.
admire the problem, so to say, of like our kids' challenging behaviors. And then when you like go back to that physical effect, like what do we then end up doing? Like maybe we like are on our phone for way too long. That's when maybe we eat a little crappier.
Or we
We're
snap
not,
back at them because
yeah,
we're like, feeling on edge or just really snippy with our responses that
yes,
it's just it's so easy. Like it's our default to kind of go there. And I think it takes kind of that higher level critical thinking when you think about kind of the brain science behind it too, of just reshifting and thinking about, okay, but what, the whole day wasn't awful.
right,
What did go well?
yeah. And I think too, the idea of gratitude, I think sometimes when, you feel like it's big, one of those big buzzwords, and I know that it was like a buzzwords in the education world, that it can kind of feel like, it's just like a quote unquote easy thing to do. But it's not, in the idea of like staying consistent with like actively showing gratitude. And
Right.
it's more than just saying to like someone like, I'm grateful for you. Like, yeah, that's true. And you could say it. But like you said, like the journaling piece, the like taking time out of your day, even if it's like 5-10 minutes. I remember we watched a video, and maybe it was the Happiness Project, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really only remembering like the key takeaways. Was that it
Yeah.
started off by people,
Pretty sure it was the Happiness Project
it
that you
started
got.
off, it was a video, and they started off by having these people call somebody that they were thankful for and just simply like thanking them for something positive that they did in their lives, whether it was like a parent, a friend, sibling, a teacher. Um, and that in itself was like really powerful, just to like see people say thank you to somebody. Um, you obviously know it's going to make the other person feel good, but in return, it ultimately makes you feel good too. And being specific as to like why. And then they were talking about um kind of like a baseline of someone's happiness level. And the idea of like, let's say someone wins the lottery and they're really happy. that happiness like spikes for a little bit, but then you end up coming back down. On the flip side, like something tragic like a death may happen and you get really sad, maybe depressed for a bit, but then more often than not, you kind of go back to that baseline of happiness. What gratitude does and did in this study was that people who like daily practice gratitude in some form or fashion, they were able to increase that baseline of overall happiness. Does that ring a bell to you?
It does. And I'm just thinking, like, where we are in the world, like, how wonderful would it be if all of our happiness baseline
Or just even a
was
point higher?
right.
Yeah. Yes. I 100% agree. I think there's so many, when we say like we're naturally biased towards negative things, when you just think about what is being shown at you in the world, like news, whatever, even just like social media and all of that, it's gonna feel when you like dissect it, take it back, and like if you could like put it in a category, probably gonna be more negative stuff, or at least make you not
Right.
feel as good.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so, I think switching a little bit in terms of like, how do we teach kids about gratitude, right? When we as adults sometimes struggle with it. So, one of the
Yeah.
things that we did, at least at the school level, which is so easy to do at home with your own kids, is that journaling. And journaling can look different for everyone, right? So, for an adult, it might be writing down a few sentences or a paragraph. For kids, it might be writing a sentence. It could be drawing a picture. There's a lot of science too in terms of just doodling and how that can relax your body as well.
Yeah.
So I think we had put together a whole gratitude notebook that we had implemented in our classrooms. We had done gratitude lessons each week, to
Yeah.
really help shift the mindset of our students who at the time were really struggling with a lot of um, just stuff emotionally.
Yes. I remember like when we first presented it, and I think the first page said something to the effect of like, use 3 words to describe yourself, um, or 3 things you like about yourself, or something like that, which seemed, pretty fundamental, pretty basic. And I remember a handful of kids having a very difficult time with that.
Yeah.
Again, it showed kind of where they were at um emotionally and what they were ultimately struggling with. And it kind of showed like how it really took that inward reflection, which can be really hard. So like I said earlier, gratitude isn't just like I'm grateful for my TV, I'm grateful for my iPad, which again, if
Which
that's where kids are starting out with,
Yeah, right? Like,
is
I'm
okay. Yeah.
grateful for my Xbox or whatever the newest
Yeah.
gaming system is. It's okay to
Yeah.
let them start there, but I think a big piece of it too is that we as adults need to be modeling it as well, to show them how can
Totally.
they expand past that. Or I'm grateful that we are able to put food on the table so that we're well nourished, to be able to get through the day.
Yeah. And like we had said earlier, we we're able in a world that feels like there's a lot out of our control. What is in our control is being able to practice gratitude. And like we said, there's like this true science behind the positive effects you can and will feel with consistency. And then, and if that's what you're demonstrating to your kids, that's what their self-talk is going to sound like. That's what their inner dialogue is going to say to themselves when they are either going through something difficult or they see something difficult or they're really happy.
Yeah.
Like something is good. They can have a reflection as to why and realize that they had control over that emotion.
I think it's also a nice opportunity to teach our kids how to help others,
Yes.
right? So I
Yeah.
might be grateful that we have food on the table for dinner, but not everyone does. So what can we do to help others? So maybe
Mm.
we're taking some time, especially during the holiday season, And my hope is that we'd be doing it year round, but
Right.
the holidays can be hard where kids are getting gifts from Santa, and um the weather's shifting, and families might not have enough money for new winter coats or snow boots. So how can we give back, and working with our kids to maybe volunteer or help out a charitable organization.
Yeah, the
um
holidays are a good place to start because it's
right.
like a natural starting point of gratitude. Like they're obviously going to be talking about it in schools. You're probably going to be having conversations about it around your dinner table. Um,
They're probably
so just
making
being able to
their
include them.
Christmas or Hanukkah lists, or
Yes.
whatnot. So how can we also be thinking about, like, okay, well, here's the toys you want. What might be some toys though that we could donate to other kids?
Yeah. I mean, I always love
Um,
a good opportunity to go through my toys and donate stuff that my kids aren't going to play with anymore, that it's like
yeah,
you have them be part of that process. Sometimes it backfires when they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this." And I'm like, "You haven't played with it in 6 months, girlfriend.
yeah.
We can get rid of it."
That's
But
where I
yeah,
just put it in the donation box when they're not looking.
I know. So right. So like some obviously you have to do without your kids around, but if there are times when and if your kid is old enough that they can recognize what you're doing and the why behind it,
I mean, even
great
things
idea to start now.
as simple as, if you're going to the store to stock up on diapers and formula for your kid, maybe grab an extra,
Yeah.
box of diapers or an extra can of formula to donate to, Share Our Spare or some of those other organizations that are collecting just stuff for families that might be in need. So it's just I think gratitude lends nicely to giving back to our community. And I think that that's really important for our kids to learn.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, kids' books that you like or that you've either have for in your own library or that you have seen used or on your little gratitude wish list?
So I mean, we've got some, like, I'm trying to think of, there's some that are like around Thanksgiving
Yeah,
specifically.
for sure.
But there is one called, I think it's like Gratitude is My Superpower.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, gratitude is my
there's
superpower.
the thank you book with Mo Willems, which I love Mo Willems books.
There's someone
Um,
called The Thankful Book by Todd Parr, and that one has, like, some really nice illustrations for kids. Actually, my son's teacher was reading it to his class this past week, and it's, like, kinda silly, but it's also, like, the idea of, like, this sentence start of, like, "I'm thankful for," and insert
yep.
something and why. "I'm thankful for," insert something and why. Um, so that one was really cute. I think even one where it's not necessarily gratitude, but I think you could tie it in of, like, doing stuff for others and, like, grateful for something is, like, the bucket filler book.
Oh, yes. Those are
Yeah,
always
like
good
I said, it's
ones.
not, like, gratitude specific, but the idea of, like, doing something for others and real helping them feel good will ultimately make you feel good too. Um, and there are obviously, like, just a bunch of journals out there, for kids. There's something else too that if your kid really isn't into, like, a journaling book, you could do with something like a gratitude jar. You
Yeah.
could, like, write something down on a Post-it or even just, like, a little picture, and then you put them in the jar, and then maybe at, like, the end of the year, you take those out and reflect on all those things that you're thankful for. So, again, like, you could start that at Thanksgiving. As
Yep.
I'm saying this, I actually am loving this idea for my kids.
I think it's also a great opportunity for, if they're having a really hard day, to pull one of those out from the jar and read it,
Oh, yeah.
right? To help shift that mindset.
Mhm.
Um,
That
Gosh,
is
look at us coming up with some of these ideas like right on the spot.
I know.
The
And like I
other
said, it doesn't have to be like, "Oh, I'm grateful for." It could be like something positive that happened that day,
Yeah.
like that you were proud of or that your kid was proud of, something that was challenging and they got through it. Um, so What were you going to say? Cut you
I was
off.
just gonna say too, we're working on sharing out a gratitude journal that we've created. So we're going to be, keep an eye out for that. Hopefully,
Yes.
if we can get our act together, and by we, I mean me,
That
can
means both
get,
of us. We're a team here. Yeah.
we are,
But
but getting
yes.
our act together to get that out in time for Thanksgiving. But again, really, while Thanksgiving is a nice time to start this stuff, really making sure that we're being thoughtful about it and keeping it up and being consistent throughout the entire year.
Yeah. I have started, will admit, I
I
definitely need
didn't
to be
get
more
that.
consistent. Oh, you didn't get that? Oh, that was your phone, Sheena.
That was my Apple Watch. I apparently somehow initiated
Turn.
Siri.
That's okay. She can listen to us talk about gratitude. It's a good topic. That those 1-a-day journals or 1 line-a-day journals, and there's like one specifically for moms, and that I have one for each kid, that I wasn't so good with like baby books. That was
I
not
was
my
not
thing.
either.
But I've been writing down like either funny things that they've said or like them being cute. Again, like just one thing, starting
You
small.
are reminding me that I also have that book because I think we got it from the same friend, and
We
mine is
did, yes.
sitting next to me on my nightstand,
Yes, it's a beautiful book. It makes a great decoration of your
probably
nightstand.
with like 3 entries. So
Yes,
I'm going to
but
be
it's
better
like,
about that.
but the idea is so cute. So it's this like little calendar kind of journal that you literally just write one thing a day. And like I said, mine is specifically for like, I have each book for a kid, so it's like something funny that each or cute that each one did. And it's so incredible that like how easily our brains forget like what is done on the daily basis and like what our kids do. We obviously remember the feelings and things like that, but the specifics of being able to write in this journal has been, I have enjoyed it. It's taken a while to get started. And I'll be really good for like a handful of days, and then there are a handful of days I miss. But that is something that, like I said, I know there's this science behind it
Yeah.
that I can do it. Just have to keep
And
going.
we, should walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
100%.
So I'm going to be better about that.
I've also shifted some of my language where, again, I'm home with my kids. I sometimes feel like I'm just a chauffeur, I'm a chef, I'm a housekeeper, all that good stuff, which is lovely and true. I'm like entertainment director. Um, and I do love it, that I've changed my language where I say I have to do something and I get to. So
Oh,
like I have to take my daughter to gymnastics. I get to take my daughter to gymnastics. Or I have to take my son to school. I get to take my son to school.
isn't it crazy how just shifting one or two words
Yeah.
in what we say
Hmm.
just totally shifts
Yeah.
the
Sometimes I'm saying it to
the
myself,
meaning
or
behind
it's
it?
just in my head. Yeah.
Right. But still,
Hmm.
like it just shifts the mood of what you're
It
saying.
does. I will say, like, oh my God, these days I'm like, I don't feel like I'm being productive. I'm just doing the same thing day in and day out. Um, Kind of like what's my worth sort of thing. That's when I can reflect that way. We're like, I get to help them get dressed. I get to go play outside with them. I get to make them lunch. I get to put them down for a nap. Like it totally shifts how I view what I'm doing, who I am, and just how I feel.
I love that.
Yeah. So I recommend, if you're like, journaling, cool. Simply saying I get to, I know like what I'm grateful for is obviously something you could say to yourself. That I get to is huge.
To wrap things up, Jenny, I feel like we should share what we are grateful for.
Oh my gosh. I'm saving up all my good stuff for Thanksgiving dinners. No, I'm
Okay,
just kidding.
well, this is your
No, I'm just
rehearsal.
kidding. Um, did you have something in mind that you're grateful for?
Despite the plague that has hit our home, I am grateful for the extra time I got with my kids this weekend, where
Yeah.
I just got to I got all the extra snuggles and got to watch them just be silly and enjoy like this age. And I'm
Yes.
really grateful for friends and family that I'm so close to, that I get to spend time with. Again, my sister-in-law will be coming into town from Europe, so I'm grateful that, my kids have such a close relationship to her despite her being across, an ocean, and the
Yeah.
relationship that they have with my sister and my nieces. I think I'm just really grateful for friends and family. That includes you, my love.
Oh, so grateful for you.
And getting to do this with you has
Yeah.
been such an amazing experience. And side note, we are like getting close to 1 year of doing this.
I really can't believe that. Time is a funny thing.
It is.
Um,
What
oh,
are you
wonderful
grateful
things to be
for?
grateful for. I mean, very similar. I'm always, always, always grateful for family. I have 4 siblings, and my husband has 3 brothers, so, like, we come from relatively bigger families, and I love that, and I love that so both my brother and his brother, um, got married, obviously not to each other, but they got married this year, and, the saying goes, you don't get to pick your family, but you also can't pick who your family marries, and I feel so grateful that, like, our siblings have just married people that we all love, and, like, our family has just gotten bigger in the best way possible. Um, well, so I'm obviously very excited, grateful for friends like you who, like, love my kids as their own. I feel like a lot of friends in my friend group are that way, and I think that's obviously why we're friends.
Yeah,
Um, for those who have kids and those who don't, right? Like, it's not
right.
just the ones who have kids. So I'm just really grateful for friends, and yeah, I feel like so incredibly grateful to do this platform with you because, we talked for so long about how can we use our knowledge, use our expertise, use the fact of being a mom. And even though it's like you have to start somewhere, you have to start small. We've been doing this, and this is like the most consistent that we've been in something. I feel like we've had like so many different ideas
Yes,
that to be able, like you said, to do this for almost a year, and I really only see like great things happening, whatever that looks like. So I'm really grateful that we've done this and are still doing it.
absolutely.
But yeah, and so we encourage you guys to obviously take the time during Thanksgiving to show gratitude, be grateful, be good role models for your kids about it because it can have such a great impact long term, and encouraging you to continue that throughout this year and into the new year, which is going to be crazy because it's going to be here so soon.
I know. That attitude of gratitude. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all of the latest, you can follow us on Instagram @_and then we had kids. Thanks again, and like we say, life used to be carefree, and then we had kids.